Hey, fellow podcasters, I'm Dan Benjamin, and today we're going to be talking about this little thing. It's called the Cloudlifter. Stay tuned. That's right. Today I'm going to be talking about this little guy. It's called the Cloudlifter. What does the Cloudlifter do for you? It adds about 25 decibels of really clean gain to your signal. And so what that means is between your microphone and your audio interface, whatever kind you're using, it's going to boost that signal by about 25 decibels. And the gain is clean. And what we mean when we say clean gain is it doesn't introduce a lot of noise. It doesn't raise the noise floor very much. So what you get is a nice loud signal, usually from your dynamic mic. You don't need this if you have a condenser mic. You just don't. There's no place for it because condenser mics are loud enough already, and preamps do a really good job of amplifying them and making them as loud as you want them to be. The downside with all condenser mics, of course, is that you're picking up a lot of extra noise, whereas a dynamic mic, you're picking up pretty much just your voice, not your neighbor's dog barking or the air conditioner running or what have you. You're just getting your voice. And even just stepping a little off mic, you'll notice the difference. With a condenser mic, you know, it picks up a lot more. So this Cloudlifter, and by the way, this is the Cloudlifter CL-1, those are used primarily to boost the signal of a gain-hungry dynamic mic. They can also be used for ribbon mics if you're crazy enough to have one of those. Don't get me wrong, they're great for what they are. But dynamic mics are what most of us should be using in broadcasting and podcasting. And so this is going to boost that signal from a gain-hungry mic. What do I mean by that? Well, the typical situation that I imagine people getting a Cloudlifter CL-1 for is they already have a preamp and they said, I want to upgrade my mic. I want to get something better. And, you know, Dan always says, get that dynamic mic, get the Shure SM7B like he uses, or maybe the Heil PR-40, which is a wonderful mic also, or the Telefunken M82, or even the Shure SM58. All of these are wonderful dynamic mics, and all of them need a lot of gain for you to even hear anything that you're saying at all into them. And you would probably be surprised because you're going to get this mic, you're going to plug it into your preamp, you're going to crank that thing up, and you're not going to hear anything until you're at about 95% of the gain it can provide. And then it's also going to get noisy. You don't want noisy gain. That sounds terrible. It introduces what's called the noise floor. It raises the noise floor, and you're going to get a lot of other sounds, not just ambient sounds, but just noise from within that gain cycle in your preamp itself. The Cloudlifter is going to make it so that you don't need to do that. You're only going to have to turn your gain up to maybe 50, 60%, and this is going to provide the rest of it. Now, you notice there's no power adapter or anything with this. That's because it's powered from what's called phantom power, which is there's probably a little 48 volt button on your preamp that is going to power this Cloudlifter right here. It is also what you would use to power like a ribbon mic, like I mentioned. Dynamic mics don't need that power. Condenser mics generally do need 48 volt phantom power. So you don't need to send phantom power to a dynamic mic, but you do if you've got this in between your mic and your preamp. So this gives it the power that it needs. It boosts that signal by about 25 decibels, and you've got louder, clearer gain. Now, let me walk you through some scenarios where, other than the one I mentioned, where you've already got your preamp and now you've got this, where people might be saying, I think I need to boost my signal. And I'll also give you some remedies so that you don't have to get a Cloudlifter for this, because the Cloudlifter is not going to fix problems that exist. It's just going to give you more gain. That's all it does. Okay, so here's one scenario. Let's say you podcast just on your own, like I'm doing right now. I'm just me talking into a microphone. And you get a new Shure SM7, you plug it in, you say it's not loud enough. Don't get a Cloudlifter for that. I recommend against it. Instead, just boost your volume with, well, if you saw my previous episode where I talk about compression, you can boost it with makeup gain or with gain there. You can also just boost it by raising the level of that track, of your track. And you don't need a Cloudlifter for that. Your audio signal is there. Just boost it in post, boost it in the software you use to edit. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. You can see another scenario where you're recording with other people, maybe they're remote people, and your audio level is lower than theirs in the mix when you're editing it, or when you're worried about giving it to the audio engineer. Same thing I just said. They can boost that volume in a variety of ways in post in their software editing. And if you're worried about other people not being able to hear you as well, that is a concern. They can adjust their volume within Skype or whatever application they're using. But if you've got lots of different people at different levels, turning that up would make one person really loud and you're going to be really quiet. So in that situation, yeah, there's a valid reason you might want to get a Cloudlifter to boost your signal in comparison with other people if that's something that you do a lot. So you could use it for that purpose. Another situation where a Cloudlifter might be useful is if you're in that situation I just described and you're live streaming, or you're just live streaming on your own. Perhaps you're a gamer or you're doing something else and the volume is just low and it can't compete with the sounds from the game that you're playing, for example. Another good case for a Cloudlifter. But generally speaking, it's not some panacea. It's not going to fix problems that you have that you haven't addressed. It's just giving you some extra gain. So for what it does, it's wonderful. The gain that it creates is excellent. It is clean. It does sound great. You will find that you probably have to alter your EQ because there are some subtleties. It will change your sound just a little bit. But no, some people often say, provide some sound samples of you through it. I'm not going to do that because it's just adding gain, really. So just imagine it louder and you're not going to notice a difference because my signal's loud enough already, because if it's not through my preamp, which is has plenty of gain for the Shure SM7. And by the way, I use the Universal Audio Arrow for this setup here. I don't need to worry about that. The Cloudlifter is useless. I've got more gain than I could ever use coming from that. Why? Because that's pro level equipment. It's $500, I think. I'll put a link to it in the notes below. The big difference from the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 that I use on the desk over there, which can barely power this microphone. I've got to have it cranked almost all the way up and then I just boost it in post. So that's what I do. I did buy this because I wanted to do this video for y'all and I want you to understand it and what it's good for. I don't really anticipate using it that much, but you might in your scenario, in your situation. But that's it in a nutshell. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell. It makes a big difference. Comments, questions below. And if you enjoyed the video and you want to support me, patreon.com/danbenjamin. Toss me $1 or $5 or $10. I do lots of behind the scenes stuff and, you know, little videos, extra content. Go check it out. I appreciate the support and we'll see y'all next time.